the president of this ceremony, respected Shri Murlidhar Koteshwarji, the chief guest for this session, respected Dr. Shankaran, my friend and colleague. We are working together since quite many years, and Dr. Joshi ji, who delivered wonderful enlightening speech some time back. So this morning I'm going to kind of present my thoughts. Of course, some of it is scholarly thought based on my research and studies, and of course a lot is also based on my experience with the engagement with many organizations. So just a brief about Tata Institute of Social Science. You may be knowing that there are 3 institutes started by the great visionary Jamshedji long back. All the 3 eventually became universities and institutes of repute. We know all of them. We know Indian Institute of Science, which was then established as Tata Institute of Science. We know TIFR, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in Colaba, Mumbai. And of course, the third one is Tata Institute of Social Sciences. I come from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, which eventually became deemed university in 1964. And right now we have 4 campuses. Of course, the mother campus is in Mumbai, and 3 other campuses in Tuljapur, Guwahati, and Hyderabad, engaging in different facets of social sciences, teaching, research, fieldwork, and of course, a lot of extension services across the country and beyond. The institute established in 2007, Center for Social Entrepreneurship. Then I was not a part of this center, but I was kind of outsider or outside expert for the center. And 2007, it started the master's program in social entrepreneurship, probably the first of its kind in the world, because till then, social entrepreneurship was taught only as an elective subject, or maybe a couple of other disciplines were kind of borrowing some thoughts on social entrepreneurship. In a couple of years ago, Professor Muhammad Yunus, whom I met last year also, inspired my director, Professor Parsuraman, to start a master's program in social entrepreneurship to inspire the Indian youth to become social entrepreneur. Since then, we are engaged in teaching, and of course, we have good amount of research initiatives also in the field. And 2012, we started a social incubator with the support from University Grants Commission, eventually to create a pipeline of young social entrepreneurs who finish master's program with us and join the incubator to become social entrepreneur. 2017 onwards, we are opening it up across the country to allow non-TCNs also to join the incubator, and we'll have a different portfolio of activities since then. This morning, I'm going to sort of open up the subject, which is written here. And I'm dividing the themes into 4 major components. First, when I see globalization, I'll talk about globalized India rather than globalization as a global phenomena. Then I'll touch upon the subject of business and society. I guess that's the reason you chose to write win-win. When you say win-win means there has to be at least 2 parties. So one party, in my opinion, is business, and the second party is society. So what is the new agenda for the alignment which we are saying is possible? The third element, I would like to talk about the social entrepreneurship or social entrepreneur as change agent who aligns the business acumen with social vision. And of course, the last is sustainable development, where I'll kind of try to articulate something on the business model. The first theme, how do I look at globalized India? It's more than 25 years now. India has been liberalized and globalized. We have done away with a lot of license Raj mechanisms. We have opened up the economy. But if you take a critical view of what happened in India last 25 years, I think though we have good developments, we have a lot of new technologies coming, we have a lot of new developments coming, a lot of jobs created. But if you see what has not happened is the equitable growth. In globalized India, rich has become richer and the poor has become poorer. And the gap between the rich and poor has widened a lot, and that's a point of worry. I'm not saying globalization was wrong. The point is what I'm saying, what it did is also something which is worrisome. Now, what we see in globalized India also, the people with less resources, we have created a system where people with less resources are compelled to pay more. And when I say I can have some empirical information on that, in 2011 and 12, when we were celebrating our Platinum Jubilee, we did a study around a slum very close to my institute, not Dharavi. Dharavi we call as a 5-star slum, which is far, far superior slum one can imagine. I'm talking a slum much lesser in caliber and facilities. If you visit that slum, you will find an average family in the slum pays at least 60 to 70 rupees per day on water. Whereas me and you, we don't pay 60 rupees or 70 rupees per day, just count your water bills. You're not paying that much amount. So who is paying more for the water? The one who is incapable of paying more. And I'm talking about the people whose family earning per day is not more than 300 to 400 rupees per day. So they are spending at least 20% of their everyday earning on water. And that is what we have done in creating the whole system. I'm not getting into the analysis of that. I'm just saying that there are many services where the poor people are compelled to pay more. That's the point I'm making. The question is, the inclusiveness approach in the whole development agenda is somewhere, I think, getting lost. And that's the point which I would like to bring in as a point of argument. Then when you look at the scholarly literature, how the poverty has been sort of articulated, presented, and conceptualized post-liberalized India, we see that poverty is also not equally distributed. There are intra-regional, inter-regional, community-centric poverty. So poverty is also unequally divided across the country. So there also you see different kind of deprivation coming in terms of distribution of the poverty also. If you look at the further details, we see about 370 million Indians. They have some amount of deprivation. That deprivation, as I said, it could be deprivation from the clean drinking water, or sanitation, or health, or income, livelihood, etc. So we see at least 370 million people are deprived of something, okay, which doesn't make them, which won't make them as a good citizen of this country. On the contrary, if you look at the profile of the country, we are the 7th largest country in the world with 17.5% of world population, quite populous country. We are also youngest country probably with 65% of our population below the age of 35. So we have huge working population. When we talk about huge working population, we also need to see the amount of job creation. Is it compatible with the amount of people getting out of the universities or not? No comments on whether we are doing it or not. I'm saying that this is something we need to think about. We are also 3rd largest economy in terms of GDP after China and USA. And of course, we are one of the biggest exporter of IT and IT services businesses, and India is considered to be one of the best in the world, and probably India is known for its IT capabilities. It also desires a different kind of discourse now. If you scan the political economy of this country as on today, we are trying to explore a different kind of impetus for foreign direct investment, and I think only the time will tell whether we could succeed or not. But what I'm saying is we are continuously searching for new ways of foreign direct investments. The issues which I would like to highlight about this country is we are also about 40% world's poor population residing in our country. Majority of them are illiterate. Malnutrition numbers, I can put these numbers of all the problems which I have listed here. Healthcare, then the pressure of urbanization, how urbanization creates deprivation and urbanization adds to poverty. I think that's also something we need to worry about. And of course, we know what happens in clean water and sanitation issue. And of course, we have a national campaign these days on against the open defecation and the Swachh Bharat campaign going on. Now look at the socio-economic performance. Majority of our workforce, directly or indirectly, partially or fully, employed in agriculture. But if you see that the contribution of agriculture to GDP is drastically coming down, it's close to 18%. I'm sure the number would have gone down by the time we are talking this issue. 53% of our school grade 5th pass are not even capable of the capabilities of grade 2. And you can refer to the report of Pratham, which has been published many years ago, and the numbers are really very scary. So that questions the quality of education. We have huge investment coming on higher education, but we are still leaving behind the primary education. Primary education and primary healthcare are grossly neglected as on today in the country. Our energy scenario is also quite not good, but certainly there are efforts by the government. So I think the number speaks by itself. And water and sanitation we have already spoken about. Now look at the geography of this country. It's a country of a very, very peculiar nature. It's just like Europe. Okay, if you go to the extreme north, you see snow-clad mountain. Extreme south, you see very warm climate. Go to west, desert. Go to east, marshy land, or maybe deep forest, dense forest. And the central part of the country is quite fertile. Okay, so that makes India a very interesting country of diversity and complexity. I would also say that India is also a country of contradictions. What we say yes can also be said no. Okay, and you can check when you travel 100 kilometers in this country, you will see the language has changed, the food has changed, the culture has changed. So this is a country where every 100 kilometers brings a different understanding of the country. Of course, it's a country of very rich and very poor also. Now we find many people in the 500 or whatever list, richest Indians in that list, which was unthinkable many, many years ago. And of course, we have large pool of youth population, and of course, Indians are extremely versatile. They can manage adverse situation very well, and that's why we find Indian migrants performing extremely well across the country, even if it is unskilled work performance. So that's the scenario of globalized India. Now I come to theme number 2, which is about the question of win-win agencies, that is the business and society. Is there a new agenda to pursue? So what I'd like to highlight is the market-led, or I would say non-inclusive development versus inclusive development. And I think this conference is all about debating about the synergy, if it exists. So when you look at the whole space of business and society, we believe that they stand 90 degrees apart. They don't meet each other. There is one axis. This is not X and Y axis, by the way. This is one axis which is about philanthropy, pure philanthropy, charity, giving donation. And the second axis is all about business, which talks about efficiency, economic benefits, value creation, economic value creation, etc. Now, I think what we are searching through these kind of discussions and these kind of conferences is the combined social and economic benefit. And that's what Michael Porter was trying to articulate some time ago. But the context of the discussion was different. I'm putting in a slightly different context for this discussion. So let me sort of look through a literature which talks about how corporate engagement in the social benefit or social side is being articulated. So one extreme could be, we can say, okay, we are doing everything right. Okay, we are paying fair wages, we are paying minimum wages, we are providing employee all the facility, we are paying all the taxes, we are not polluting environment. So that's what we call as a good citizenship, which I guess all of us are doing or trying to do in this country so far as the good business governance is concerned. If you go to the second column, it talks about the value chain impact. So where we are saying that we are trying to mitigate whatever harm we are doing. So if you pollute water, we are trying to do the primary treatment, or we are not discharging effluents to the river, and so on and so forth. So this kind of mitigation of whatever damage we are doing out of our business activity. But what we are also looking at now, and the debate which I'm going to propose to happen in this conference is, do we have a strategic engagement so far as CSR is concerned? And when I say strategic engagement, I'll come back to the detail a little later. Look at the legislation which has come in the parliament in 2013, and it has been cleared, which says that 2% of the net profit, and the criteria are listed here, has to be spent on CSR, and as it has been said that about 20,000 crore rupees is available for spending. And accountability is established, but you will see over a period of time, the act has been sort of toned down. Earlier, the board of directors were held responsible, they were held accountable. I think now the independent directors were held accountable. I think it has been toned down quite a bit to reduce the sort of vulnerability of this act. So I think that's a point of worry. If you're so serious about CSR, then why are we reducing the vulnerability of this act? So anyway, this could be debated academically and in practice again. But if you look at a study done by CIIs a few years back, what makes Indian corporates spend on CSR? And this is a study done much before the act came into force. It's earlier than 2013 act came about. So you will see that most of the time the businesses are engaged in CSR activity to have a good profile in front of the society, to look good, to position themselves as good corporate citizens. But what is interesting is the point number 3, which I feel, in my opinion, in a very subtle way, a very powerful trigger which we should encash on is the stated philosophy of founding father. So for the time being, I'll ask you to think through the history of Indian businesses. You look at the history of House of Birlas, House of Tatas, Bajaj, and all of them, Kirloskarji, everybody. And you will see all these Indian businesses have not been created for wealth creation or asset creation. They were created to make this country self-reliant. And you will see majority of those people who established these businesses are actually by heart freedom fighters. Though they didn't pick up gun or they didn't shout a political slogan, but they were fighting against the colonial economic power. So if you see, the genesis of Indian business is actually very strongly rooted on the national purpose. I think we need to remind ourselves that the Indian businesses have never been asset creators for the namesake. They were actually had a different motive to come into business. So on this front, my colleague Gordon Seni and me, we have done a study at Goa, and we just thought that let us ask if CSR is doing so good about the society, what society thinks about CSR. So let us ask the people how they think about CSR, and the results were quite shocking. Not that everybody speaks good about CSR, and the results are written here. So the question is, most of the people in the community and the society question the fairness of CSR. So I think that's where we are. I'm just triggering a thought that, is CSR all about the fair game? Is it giving everything to the desired community or everything to the deprived community? I think answer is no. Also, community feels that CSR is more a image building exercise. So I think there's a big perception gap when a company claims that they are doing good for CSR and what society thinks about the CSR. I think we need to take the question a little carefully, and we need to understand whether the perception is same. Our study says the perception is not same. Now I come to the third aspect of my discussion, which is actually social entrepreneurship. Is there an answer in social entrepreneurship existing? So social entrepreneurship is kind of getting different faces, different aspects of explanation. Social entrepreneurship sometimes is considered to be a business enterprise created with a social mission that's supposed to be there. Also, sometimes we are seeing entrepreneurship in the social context is also another discourse which is emerging. So I'm not taking any stand. I probably talk about little in detail to open up the discussion. And this is the academic part or scholarly part of my presentation probably. So basically, entrepreneurship in literature, particularly in economic and business activity, is quite well established. And there are journals, there are books, there are enormous amount of literature written on entrepreneurship, which we understand what an entrepreneurship activity is all about, how entrepreneurship creates change in the society, how entrepreneurship creates wealth. We know about it. Now, what is emerging new in the discourse of entrepreneurship is a process of social progress. I think that's the field which is opening up very hot. And that's the field we are kind of trying to discover. Is there something meaningful happening in the society so far as entrepreneurship is concerned? And when I say meaningful in society, I'm not talking about job creation. I'm saying social impact, direct social impact. Now, the question is, there are issues about modeling this concept, what I'm presenting now. And that's the reason. The reason is very simple, that social entrepreneurship in academic literature or scholarly literature or in research is at a very nascent stage. It's yet not picked up. And I think we need to do lot of studies in social entrepreneurship. And my Center for Social Entrepreneurship has taken a reasonably serious stand on this thing, that we need to be equally a knowledge creator also. Otherwise, we find it very difficult how to teach social entrepreneurship in universities. And I think really there is a dearth of literature, dearth of good textbooks, good case studies to teach social entrepreneurship as on today. Last thing, which probably comes very relevant in today's context when we talk about social entrepreneurship, the discourse of sustainable development. And I think all major business enterprises are also looking at sustainable development as a major business model transformation agenda. I'm not very sure what is happening in that space, because we are yet not having very sound literature on sustainable development based business model development. There are few, but not many. I think we need to wait and see how this gets reported in academic literature. So looking at the social entrepreneurship typologies in the concept, since we are academics and we are here searching the literature and try to put it in the baskets of typologies, we see three types of discourses coming in so far as social entrepreneurship is concerned. The first discourse is about entrepreneurship, about which we have heard the speaker just now. Lot of literature, lot of discourses is happening in the behavioral approach, where we are talking about entrepreneur as a heroic figure, mission-driven, who is mobilizing resources, something to do good for the society. So there is one set of literature on entrepreneurship view, which is already existing. I think it's an extrapolation of entrepreneurship literature, which is trying to figure out what else is happening in entrepreneurship. The second set of literature comes from social science, which is actually looking at entrepreneurship or individuals with entrepreneurial mission to look into how the pursuance of social mission, social value creation, social problem solving are happening. So there's another set of literature which is strongly emerging from the social science or maybe political science also. And that is the reason you will find many universities in America, the public policy schools are also teaching social entrepreneurship, because there are a lot of political science or political economic science is also emerging very strong in the social entrepreneurship area. The third group of literature, what we see happening is the research and methodological view. Research methodology is a big pain point in social entrepreneurship. In fact, my center is doing a conference in January from 18th to 20th on actually research methodology in social entrepreneurship, because we need to settle this debate as early as we can so that we can empower the researcher and the scholars to conduct time-relevant and context-specific research in social entrepreneurship. So that's another set of literature which is coming very strong. The biggest pain area of social entrepreneurship is definition of debate. Definitional debate is actually really creating a lot of issues. We don't know what is the definition of social entrepreneurship. Believe me, in academic literature we are thoroughly confused. And you will wonder that what's happening. So we pose this question to ourselves. So I and my PhD student Nia Choi, we pose this question to ourselves, that can we answer this question? Can we create a definition which is doable, which is acceptable? And then we looked at various theoretical frameworks by which we can take a definitional stand. Then we thought that it's not possible, actually. That's what we concluded. So we said, okay, let us look at, is there any other field which has got similar struggle in definitional debates? So we found that there are many, actually. Even CSR is also a kind of definitional debate space. And then we found out a theory called ECC, Essentially Contested Concept, given by Galilei in 1956. And I was wondering, this theory is so robust, even architectural science, political science, CSR, there are many disciplines which have used this theory to settle the definitional debate. So we thought that we can also make an argument about that and put a paper. So what we are arguing now is there is no need for definitions. Because social entrepreneurship is not one domain, it's a cluster domain, it's a cluster concepts. And the clusters are social value creation, social entrepreneur, social organization, market orientation, and social innovation. These are the 5 sub-themes. Essentially, social value creation exists irrespective of other 4 themes. And a researcher or a practitioner can take a stand. He or she can take a position to pick up the themes which we feel is appropriate. So we can have very high market centricity, or we can have very high social value creation. We can take a position on that. In fact, this paper was quite well received. We got very good citations. And still this paper is cited in many PhD theses and research papers, because we believe that we could address at least one space in terms of telling that let us not have an argument on definitions. I think that's where we settled the debate. We don't know what contribution we made, but this is what we have done. Now, we also try to look at, can we talk about managerial practices in social enterprise? So we joined, I along with my other 2 colleagues, Archana Singh and Gordon Saini, again we sort of engaged in some kind of research and try to find out, can we talk about social marketing in social entrepreneurship, and do we have any empirical evidences? So we picked up some organizations. Of course, there are empirical evidences available. And we came out with these propositions, which reasonably got accepted in the academic literature. And we are saying that contextual factors actually decide the marketing strategy, because social marketing is becoming very critical these days. And of course, in the internet era, we need to think social marketing slightly in a broader concept. And also, we felt that partnership and networking makes a very robust proposition so far as social entrepreneur organization concerned. And of course, community innovativeness and passionate and committed people, monitoring and non-monetary prices being paid by social entrepreneur organization, technology, marketing strategy, and customization. Context specificity is also very important so far as application of social marketing is concerned. But interestingly, when we start looking at business entrepreneurship literature, we also were very keen, is there anything happening in business entrepreneurship literature? Fine, we are developing social entrepreneurship, but what about the other discipline which is already there for a pretty long time? We saw a very interesting editorial written by our friend Dean Shefford in Journal of Business Venturing, and he's provoking us to think about a scholar, to think about entrepreneurship literature becoming cognitively hot, and that's the title he's giving. And he's saying now the time has come when the business entrepreneurs need to be provoked, need to be questioned about their non-routines, how they are addressing poverty, how they are becoming socially relevant. Then we saw something interesting. Here is a opportunity when even business enterprises are also thinking about creating social context contributions. So me and Gordon Sani quickly wrote a piece also, and we said that even we can look at CSR, which was actually discussed a few minutes back, how CSR can become a context or opportunity for social entrepreneurs to work in India. So almost our findings are same what has been presented before. So when we say that there is an opportunity to re-emerge the business models, and here is probably the space which I'm referring when we say win-win in terms of two parties, business and society. So we see that the business entrepreneurs are also trying to create social value. They are attempting to redefine the business model to create social value. And also, social entrepreneurs are trying to find ways out to become financially sustainable. So we see both are moving. The one is moving from left to right, another is moving right to left. And that's the interesting development which we see happening these days. So interestingly, when we look at this kind of discourses, we see social entrepreneurship doesn't belong to any school. It's not a part of business school. It's not a part of social science. It's not a part of technology university. Neither is a part of medical school. I think that's good, that business enterprise doesn't have any home. So anybody can adopt the way we feel like. Even our humanities science people or our historians can also adopt social entrepreneurship the way they feel like. So I think that's the strength of the field, that it doesn't belong to any school. But what we see, what kind of challenges and opportunities it provides, we need to take a little conscious stand which context we are referring to. Because social entrepreneurship is viewed differently in different parts of the globe. If you look at social entrepreneur, probably in the greatest social entrepreneur in the modern time, you know this gentleman, Professor Muhammad Yunus, who got Nobel Prize for his initiative in Grameen Bank, kind of considered to be a person who could model microfinance very systematically. So here in African countries or Asian countries, it is seen as the way to address the needs of the marginalized people. So we need to understand that if you are talking about Asian context, it's also a question of empowering the marginalized people. Also we see social activists, social initiators. You know this gentleman, Anna Hazare. Just don't remember him about the Ramlila ground incident. He has much bigger contribution to make to Indian system, RTI. We know that RTI was thought about by this gentleman, and we know how powerful RTI has become, how it has transformed the whole public governance system in the country. So I think we need to see that even governance and transformation in the social system is also possible. Look at Africa. Africa and Brazil are very, very much similar to India. So there also we see that it is a kind of engaging with the people, marginalized people, and bring them to the mainstream in terms of generating wealth and livelihood possibilities. Look at UK and Europe. Probably you will wonder what is this building about. This is a building of AC Milan, the bankrupt football club, which is worldwide known, and we all go gaga about the whole initiative of AC Milan, but actually it's a bankrupt organization. Okay, so that's what the state of Europe about social entrepreneurship is concerned. So there we are looking at the governance, how it can deliver better value so far as the engagement of social enterprise is concerned. And the last I will talk about Russia, where we are personally engaged with Russian government also. We are working with them. So here government is the social entrepreneur actually. They are the sponsor of social enterprise, and they are looking at faster delivery and efficient delivery of facilities to the last mile. So you will see across the globe, social entrepreneurship is seen very differently in different parts of the globe. And of course, if you look at America, America is all about investments. Two types of investment. One is the philanthropic, and second is the impact investment, which we know the field which is being caught up. So I think I'll just quickly run through some important dimension of social entrepreneurship, what happened in India. As we know that there is no legal format for social entrepreneurs in India. We can register ourselves as a NGO, non-banking financial institution, trust. Section 8 company or private limited company. So we don't have any clear definition of social enterprises in India as on today. So that's the reason you'll find these days when we talk about financial sustainability, majority of the social enterprises are registering themselves as private limited company. And you will see the majority of them are working in the area of skill development, education, and capability building. Some of them are working in agriculture also. And majority of them are actually in production-related activity and production and sales-related activity. So these are the major domains which social enterprises are working. They are trying to address the non-exclusion issue, which I have discussed a few minutes back, so far as the globalized India is concerned. And also you will see the major population engaged with them is youth and the women. And rightly so. And of course, the marginalized community, backward communities, and backward locations also. When we talk about funding, I think there's a panel discussion also in the afternoon today, so I'll not get into much detail of that, but we see two streams of funding. One is the grant, and second is the equity investments, which is highly debatable these days so far as social enterprise is concerned. But interestingly, what we see, the study says that 43% of them are making profit, and 22 of them are actually breaking even. So the scenario is not that bad. I think that's where the efficiency of social enterprise is catching up. I think that's a silver lining on the whole debate, that social enterprising events or social enterprising activity in the country is picking up very, very fast. I'll just skip this part. I'll just come to the last part of sustainable development and skip the major discourse of strategic CSR, which I've tried to put for some argument. I'll show you a picture of this gentleman called Gary Hamel, who worked with C.K. Prahlad, and we know their contribution in the whole discourse of resource-based view in strategy literature. I'm just citing few of his arguments, and I'm just borrowing his thoughts from Gary Hamel. I happened to attend his lecture last year in Mumbai. So he's raising a question that, are we caught up in efficiency trap in business and social enterprise in India? And that's the larger question we are asking. Because we believe that when we are too much efficiency driven, which most of our financial systems are, we are looking for standardization, we are looking for assured efficiency, we are looking for assured successes. But the problem is it kills innovation. So what is needed is looking at striking a balance between the left brain and right brain, and that's what he's trying to talk about, and looking at the complexity. As I said before, if you talk about India, you'll have to address the complexity. You cannot talk about India as a linear, simple country. India is not linear, it's not simple, it's very complex, it's very complicated proposition. So we need to talk about all of them. We need to talk about technology, we need to talk about governance. You cannot avoid corruption, you cannot avoid social systems and culture, and of course, we need to talk about market-based efficiencies and supply chain things. So I think what is important is to think how social enterprise can challenge the orthodoxies. Orthodoxies in the business, orthodoxies in the society. How we can challenge them. What is needed is to think about what are the new initiatives, new effort to be made to create a different kind of impact, which is inclusive of social and economic impact. So we are looking at of impossibilities. And that's what entrepreneurship is all about. Entrepreneurship is about looking beyond, not looking at the routines, but looking beyond. So can we create a different kind of opportunities? Can we create a different kind of systems? So the question is, we cannot forget that we have to think about context-specific understanding. And I'll skip this part and straight away go to show you a picture. When we say that, we can say that we have divide, we have digital divide, we have cultural divide, but we don't have a mobile phone divide. And you can see this picture that every nook and the corner of this country, mobile phone has entered, and people have realized the value of mobile phone. And there are many such examples where market and technology are going in sync. So can we pick some threads from that? Can we pick some threads from that? And look at rural markets slightly differently, because we can't say rural market is a cheap market. They want cheaper products. No, that's not true. Rural market is not a cheaper market. Let us not call deprived community or the rural market or the marginalized community as beneficiary. It's a very bad word. We are not giving anybody any benefit. They are markets. Okay, I'm not talking about C.K. Prahlad's bottom of the pyramid market, which has its own debate to go on. I think that time has come, we need to redefine the bottom of the pyramid market also. So how can we address growth and development together to bring social change and bring social innovation in such a way which brings dignity in the people? And that's what something missing in the social space in the country. We don't have dignity with the marginalized community these days. And that's the reason everybody is waiting for the government, including our farmers, for government to do some favor to them. And every time you hear that something is going to happening in agriculture, we hear that government has made an announcement about giving some more extra subsidy or waive off some loans. Is that the way we can revive agriculture? Certainly we are not. We need innovation there. So the question is how we can look at marginalized people or deprived people as a producer, co-producer, and how we can engage with them. That's the question we are trying to raise now. So what I'm trying to sort of conclude with is a kind of challenging statement to the young crowd here, that being the young next generation manager, I think you have many challenges to face. The established business models are being challenged now because we have established that they are non-inclusive, they deprive certain part of the people, and you cannot imagine a strong India by having 40% poor people residing in your country. The time has gone when we can ignore these 40% poor people. How you can make them as a part of your mainstream business? I think that's the challenge we have. So this is all about non-linearity. So are we willing to join this journey? And that's what is the social entrepreneurial challenge we have in the future. Thank you very much. Thanks. I appreciate for this invite, for talking to you.